Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another edition of the Astro Weather. And thank you for your patience today. Look who's here. There she is, the Astro Weather Girl. The Astro Weather Girl. Yeah. Yeah. Miss Peachy. What's going on, everybody? What's shaking out there? Today is 6/6/24, also known as 666. If you just use the 24. A very auspicious day, theoretically. And we're going to be talking about some of that over on 15 minutes. Link in the show notes if you would like to be a part of it. And of course, we also stream live on Rumble simultaneously, where the show will live theoretically for perpetuity, or as long as Rumble keeps its lights on. So I hope everybody's having a great morning and evening, day, whatever part of your experience you're currently in. So, shall we get rolling? All right, we didn't do a little name call yesterday or roll call yesterday. Why don't we go and do that right now? Let's see. We have in the house. There's my man DJ MC. Namaste of mine. The link is in. Oz, I definitely feel energies Rob was describing yesterday. Do not forget, give yourself some alone time to clear your field and relax into your body. It is intense out there. Oh, yeah. And it's just getting ramped up. Just getting ramped up. Well, I tell you, that poll that I put out on Twitter, and then David put his own version of it up there, it is really kind of kicked up a bit of a firestorm. Well, firestorm, dust storm, it's stormy. The reaction's been stormy. So it's been interesting. In fact, David and I were texting yesterday, and we're going to do another live this week. Not this week, next week. So it is the return of the Phoenix and the Leo King. And probably have an epic 3-hour psychic jam on the state of astrology. You know, one of the things that I was talking with David about is this whole Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And for me, I think that's been the impetus to look back on what went down in the astrological community. And I think to a certain extent, like the community of theoretical healers, right? And, you know, where they were at the time that everybody was going through their massive trauma shock treatment. And I think the Pluto retrograde in Aquarius has been a good jumping off point for that. Of course, retrograde allows us to go back. And then, you know, we have all these Gemini planets that are just like locking right into that Pluto and just really blowing up the conversation. So I think this is a very good thing. And I'm not going to say a lot more about what we're going to talk about, but it also dovetails into other ideological aspects that had bled into astrology, just like they have bled into everything else, right? Just like they've bled into sports, they've bled into relationships, they've bled into government, they've bled into commercials. Every part of our lives have been touched by the scourge of critical theory and social Marxism. We'll talk more about that as it relates to the astrological world this coming week, and it's about time we addressed it. And I don't care if I'm called a colonist. I don't give a shit. Joe Wong, ¿qué pasa? Joe Wong down in Mexico. where Claudia Scheinbaum is now proudly running the country. Privacy anti-scum. What's happening? There's my man TJ. Nora Rashid, the queen of speed. Misbehaving too. Hey, misbehaving too. Soul Travelers here. Catherine Kramer, K2. Emmy Green, Grand Rising from Houston. Greetings, Emmy. Soul Traveler checking in. Warlanda, I raise my cup to you. Sister Brew. That's a good line. I raise my cup to you, Sister Brew. Peachy, you don't need any coffee. Sharon Lewis, what's happening, Sharon? Happy Mars square Pluto. Ooh. Sharon's born with it. She's going to lead us through the darkness. Mary Lee, what's happening? Meow meow. My man, the Shadow Man, Benito Diaz is here. What's going on, Brother B? Garden Girl. I love the two R's. Let's see. So we have Meow Meow. Kabuki Theater. Hey, Bo. What's going on, Bo? Autumn Marlene Eagle Shield. Greetings, Healing Heart Rosie. The dear Healing Heart Rosie's here. Whenever I see that name, I remember my little Rosie. Dave Sullivan. What's happening, Dave? Big Dave Sullivan. That sounds like a name, doesn't it? Big Dave Sullivan. Let's see. Who else do we have? Liddy Lou. Checking in from Kyle. She's not that far away. Veronica's Barn having her morning jaunt in Central California, in the beauty of Central California, on one of her prize ponies. Brandy Herrera, hello from Hippieville, Texas. 74 with 6% humidity. I think MTG should be Trump's running mate. I'd agree with that. A couple of Geminis did it last time with Mike Pence. Maybe this time it'll work out better. I'd agree with that. There she is, the lovely and talented one, Dr. Joan S. Remember, if you want to get your mercury amalgams removed, that is your go-to gal. Let's see, who else do we have here? Maya Rose. ¿Qué pasa, Crab Gemini? Let's see, who else? Finca. What's happening, Lynn? Did I say hi to Patricia just being me? If not, there it is. There's the hi. Janine, what's happening, Janine? Checking in. Good to see you, Miss PMSO. Curtis Moonflower. What's going on, brother? There's my jazz. There's my jazz bro, Curtis Moonflower. Should be a good day today, I hope. Dave, take the hope out of it. Hope is not a strategy. Take it out of it. Having dinner at the Big Texan in Amarillo tonight. Oh, bon appetit. You got to get a big ass fucking steak. Get yourself a big ass fucking steak. Let's see who else we have here. Justin Zagarello, what's happening, Jay-Z? Beaming in from Georgia. Down the Wombat Hole. What's going on from down under? Why do they keep have to fucking up Mad Max or Fury? Can we just please dispense with the super girl power movies? Nobody's going to watch them. Nobody's watching them. They're not going to the theaters to watch these movies. People are burnt out on them. But the movie theaters, the studios don't care because they're getting subsidized. Let's see. It is D-Day anniversary. We're going to be talking about that over on 15. Let's see. Celtic Queen. 666, flush complete. Mostly olive oil is easier to get down this time. Right on. Good job, Rich. We're all proud of you. Grace Gravity's made it to a live. Greetings, Grace. Jackie Delario checking in from South Jersey. Welcome, Jackie. Road trip 1981 from Central Texas. 7 in the morning, time for cafe in bed and listening to Robert Nash. Maybe one of these days I'll do the show from bed. That might be fun. Almost did it today. Let's see. Claire's here. 668 is the number of the whore of Babylon. Now start seeing 668 everywhere. Let's see. Who else do we have here? It's about time you two got together. Yeah, I think I lit a fuse with David because he jumped all over that topic and ran with it over on Twitter. Cienza. Awesome. You're looking forward to the show. Great to find out which astrologers push the juicy juice. Not really going to get into too much of the gossip, right? Like I think if you follow astrology enough, you know who they were. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to sort of do the math. I think it would be more probably empowering, I suppose, to talk about the ones who did not recommend the juicy juice. That'll be about a 30-second conversation, by the way. Let's see. Harriet Boat. Hey, what's happening, Harriet? Bird flu death in Mexico. I know. I saw that. And of course, they have a scientist. Isn't it so fortunate that they have a scientist now who's in charge of the country? What would they do? What would they do if they didn't have a scientist? Happy Homesteaders, Chesapeake City, Maryland. Right on, Happy. Good to see you. Let's see. Do we really even believe patient zeros now anymore? I'm sorry. All trust and faith has been absolutely sucked out of the system. As far as trust and faith goes, we've been desiccated. Great cap. What team is that? So I found this company called Capiche, and they have all kinds of like mythological symbols on their caps. And then the under part of the cap, if you see it, look at that. Oh yeah, look at that. Get the old fee. So the underbill always has like a design. And so these caps are really cool. And the way that they come is just like they come in this gold box. It's so if you okay, this is what I think. But hey, these are the end times, and who knows how long people are going to want fucking caps, right? But if you were a collector, I would collect these caps because I think they're going to be worth something, and I would just put them in the boxes. I wouldn't. Maybe you'd wear a few. Like I'll wear this one, but Capiche is the company, and they have a nice little symbol on the side. All right, right. You can't really see it. Scrubbies is here. What's happening, Scrubbies? Oh, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene would even though I like her a lot, because I do like her. She's the only person that besides Thomas Massey, but Massey's a Capricorn, so he's not going to be as mouthy as Gemini Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I don't think Trump could handle her. Honestly, I think she's kind of a loose cannon. She's kind of a loose cannon. There's talk that Trump is thinking about Nikki Haley. Okay, I'll get to the astrology in a second. I promise. But who is it? Miriam Adelson, Sheldon Adelson's widow, has said that she will donate $100 million to the Trump campaign. But Trump has to somehow annex the rest of Gaza to Israel. That is political blood money. Trump better be very careful. Well, who knows? Like, I think the people that love Trump, with the exception of a few who have some discernment, like he can do anything. He can do anything. Take money from Miriam Adelson, promise to annex part of, the remnants of whatever Gaza and the Palestinian people is, and promise that. How the fuck does he do that? It's not even his country, right? But I don't know. Maybe make some kind of resolution in the Congress and then the Senate. It's blood money. By the way, I don't like Miriam Adelson. Mo Harrison. What's happening, Mo? Naples, Florida. Patty Lucia, you made it. Hey, we got a Taffy Polensky sighting. Double K, the California Contrarian. Kevin Stick Evers, in regards to the astrologers and the poll, people with the followings were paid to endorse this. Stephen Gardner on YouTube was offered a large sum of money to do so. There are some people whose asking price is probably quite cheap and just ideological, but that's interesting, Kevin. I'm glad I didn't have that big of a following, but I would say no anyway. Morning, thanks for the hockey insights yesterday. I won't lie, I'm a Tampa fan, rooting for Florida because I can't root for Canada. I think it'd be cool if the Oilers won. I don't know a lot about hockey, but apparently the Florida Panthers are not very well liked as a team. Let's see. Did I say hi to Harriet? Hi, Harriet. Are we caught up? Are we there? Are we there yet? Did McCarthy get jabbed? MTV definitely banged him. So she must not care to know it's placebo. I don't know. Did she? She's a loose cannon. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. Imagine killing your followers to endorse poison. That is a really interesting thought, meow meow. It's like, yeah, let me get rid of some of my followers by endorsing this whole thing. That is actually a really interesting thought. But a thought at its bare minimum. Okay, let's get into the weather. Thanks for being here. All right. Let's do a little zoom in action. And also thank you all for showing up, and don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe. And what else? There's a link to join locals down there at the bottom. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Every coffee buyer, I thank you. I truly thank you. And I think that's all the official business that we have. I think that's it for now. All right. We now have a new moon. There she be. 1616. And it is clearly in the Libran Decan. So relationship is a big part of the conversation. Look at this. Venus, moon, sun, 16, 16, 16. And then we have Mercury and Jupiter. It is a Gemini party. And all those planets, right, they're all visible. Well, not really Mercury. But yeah, we got this alignment right now that is completely nutso. But I like it. I like it. I like the speed and the rapidity of Gemini. And just for me on a personal level, all those planets kind of lock in with my Libra planets. So I would say it's been a pretty good week astrologically in my chart. And I hope it's been a good week astrologically for yours. If it hasn't, don't worry about it. Gemini is mutable, so things change, and they change fast. And there's just so much um, just activity in the information and just this major burst of communication going on right now. Like communication happening at a really high rate, high bit rate, right? Um, so this is just to me, this is fascinating, right? This is really fascinating. Like this is so rare when like at this just really at this moment in time. Because if we were to have this conversation at 3 p.m., that moon would be in a very different degree, in a very different position, right? So this alignment of the sun and the moon and Venus all is 16, and we're here together, probably not going to happen very often in our lifetime. Just in this sign to just to be, honest about the whole thing. So what do you do with it? Well, we always talk about intentionality on the new moon, right? And with Gemini, it is accelerated. It's rapidly accelerated. So whatever kind of intentionality you have right now, well, expect to see the results. Now you may get some resistance with Saturn over here, but Gemini is just so damn clever, right? It is so clever. To me, it reminds me of Utnapishtim from the Epic of Gilgamesh, who is essentially an analog for Noah, really. But he's so smart and clever that he's told about the flood, the deluge that's coming, and to go ahead and build an ark. See, there's another character like Noah, same story, same part of the theoretical world. Um, have you ever seen Battlefield Earth? It's the best worst movie of all time, and it's based on an L. Ron Hubbard novel. That's the one that kind of put him on the map as a science fiction writer. And there's all kinds of Scientology ideas in Battlefield Earth. And it's in some ways a retelling of the whole idea that there was an extraterrestrial species that came to Earth to get what? To get gold. Right. So it's in the novel. And God, the John Travolta, the alien species look horrible. They just horrible. But there's a character in there who is like an Utnapishtim character, and he's played by Barry Pepper, and he gets this like informational download from the John Travolta character. He almost treats him like a monkey, right? Like a lab monkey. So he gets all of this knowledge, right? And then eventually learns how to read. I think they're called the cyclos. He's able to read and understand the cyclo language. And then what does he do? He, of course, rallies his people and they revolt against the cyclos and they're able to reclaim Earth. This is all in the future, by the way. But he is that kind of Gemini like character because he displays this rapid ability to learn. And he's very clever and he's fast, right? So this is what we're talking about here. And the square against Saturn is looking at Saturn being the system, right? And how do we adapt? How are we nimble when confronted with the overarching authority of the system? And when I hear that there's a case of quote unquote bird flu in Mexico, it is not inspiring because it always starts with a drip, right? It always starts with a trickle. And then the next thing you know, you have a deluge. So here's what I would suggest for all you people that might have an interest in so-called personal sovereignty. I think that there's probably a mechanism out there. I think what we want to do is, if we're looking at another possible lockdown, and we could be, because I think it was Tom at first, and then somebody else pointed out that there's this video of this guy who's a trucker and he's driving all around the country and he doesn't see any Biden Harris signs at all. Like they're not even campaigning. There's no billboards, there's no lawn signs, there's nothing, right? So when you think of that or look at that and think of that, you're like, okay, something is up, right? Something's up. Something's in the mix. Joe Biden, by the way, whoever he is taking a beating right now with this trial going on with Hunter, which is not good. It's not going to go well for Hunter Biden. So you got to be proactive here, right? You have to be proactive. So put on your Gemini thinking caps and figure out how you can essentially claim your sovereignty. Not when I say sovereignty, that doesn't mean you got to go through like, some fucking 6-month course and know the letter of the law and the language. No, but I think you need to be able to find a way so that if indeed the curtain does come down, you're like, hey, I'm good, right? I can move about the country freely. And I'm not sure how you do that yet, right? I'm just not sure, but we need to be proactive. And what happened with quote unquote COVID is that we were to some extent reactive. Some of us were responsive, and those two things are different. But we need to be proactive here, right? We need to be proactive. So we got a lot of smart people in Chattaria. I'm going to look into it myself. What would be the thing that would allow us to circumvent whatever kind of shutdown that they may have planned? And I'm telling you, if they're not campaigning and they're reintroducing the whole pathogenic story, right? Like, what are they really planning on? So we need to be smarter. We need to be more clever. And just from an intentionality place, right? Like, okay, let's work with the cosmos. Let's work with God. Let's work with God as the cosmos, God as the universe. And your intentionality is, hey, I don't know how this works, but I need to know how it works. I need to be prepared. I need to be ready. I need to be agile, mobile, right? And then you throw that out. You throw that out there as an intention. You throw it out there as an intention and say, I need to know. I need to know. Give me the juice, or give me some clues. Right? Give me a roadmap here. Because I need to know, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a need to know. I think it's essential. So I think what we need to do now, knowing what's happened, is we need to be proactive. To be proactive. So there's your homework assignment, right? Well, what do we do? Do we get some kind of card or something? Well, I'll work on it. But if the curtain falls, right, and it might fall because history tends to repeat itself, and you have a get out of jail card, which allows you to basically go about your business. Now, that may not work for the rest of the world. It may not work for businesses. That's a whole other discussion, but we're talking about you, right? We're talking about you. So this is, and again, when we think about Venus, we think about law, because Venus rules Libra, which is all about the justice system and scales and fairness and all that stuff. There's a lot of just conversation, a lot of chatter. Some of it kind of gossipy, which is normal with Gemini. But there's just so much information to be picked up on over, the next week or so. I mean, so we're going to have Mercury and the Sun are going to kind of dogtail each other, right? And we've got Mercury conjunct Jupiter. And again, Jupiter represents legality. It's the ruler is Sagittarius, So the Jupiter's in detriment, but together Mercury Jupiter is something that is quite good for law and trying to look at, how do we navigate through this? I think that's really an important question. How do we navigate through something that we've been through before and not just sit there and wait? Oh shit, here it is again. What do we do now? Well, I tell you right now, the playbook will be different. It'll be much different. They'll probably have a lot less latitude towards people. That's what I think. And remember, until November 3rd, and even that at this point might be somewhat negligible. We have a certain administration in office who have shown to be draconian when it comes to this stuff, right? So we are literally in this uh, point of tension with the system. And I think that for the individual here, this point of tension, this square, is all about authority. Right? You need to find your authority, your inner authority. This is critical with the square to Saturn. Even if it's just a matter of affirming and decreeing, right? Your personal authority is granted to you by God. God, the creator of all rights, right? All rights, not man. Man has nothing to do with it. These are your God-given rights. They are inalienable. So all you have to do, and maybe at a fundamental level, is just affirm and decree those. Affirm and decree those rights, that you are a sovereign being. You're a sovereign being who is a direct reflection of a greater order and a greater process of creation and love and strength, right? To affirm and decree that. It's an interesting juxtaposition with prayer, which I think is important in its own right, if you know how to do it, or really put yourself into it. But to affirm and decree that this is who you are as a representative of the Most High, right? That is an important affirmation. It's very important. It sets things in motion. And we got to set things in motion kind of day to day. So don't sleep on it. Let's see. What else? What else we got? Yep, there's that Mars Pluto square. Yeah, wow. And it's at 28 degrees. This is the degree that's really wonky, right? The 28th degree of a sign makes it really, really wonky. And the energy's all over the place. And it doesn't really stabilize when it goes into Taurus. In fact, it becomes more intense. And, we talked about July 15th over on Twitter. Cliff High brought it up. And it's that Mars conjunction with Uranus. And that's happening on the natal sun of Israel, right? And then Israel's got all these planets, this malefic stellium up in the 10th house, and Mars and Uranus is squaring that. I'm telling you, things are going to get really, really hot, very hot in Israel. And it could lead to a much, much bigger boom. The other thing that caught my eye is Pallas retrograde in Scorpio. So we know that Pallas is all about pattern recognition. And in Scorpio, in all the water signs, it tends to be psychic. But in Scorpio, the psychic function operates a bit differently, and as it would in Cancer or Pisces. And retrograde is kind of what we looked at the beginning of the week when I put that poll up on Twitter. We're looking back, right? We're pattern recognizing through time, and having that juxtaposition of what was happening, and then who was or wasn't on board, right? So this is very interesting, and I don't know when Palace will go direct. I'll have to sort of suss that out. But it's also in a really nice trine with Vesta. So again, this has a lot to do with survival. Vesta in Cancer is all about survival and conservation. So, the other thing that I think you could do is just make sure that you're healthy, right? Make sure that you're healthy. Make sure you're doing all the things that keep you in the game. That's very important. Ceres is also retrograde, which again, I think, we're looking backwards. In Capricorn, well, who was in charge of all this? It's Tony Fauci, at least at one level. And what is Tony Fauci? He's a Capricorn, 2 degrees Capricorn. But it's also the system, right? The system is Capricornian. And we got one more dance with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, and it's right before the election. So hang on, boys and girls. Hang on. Oh, you didn't see the chart, did you? Fuck. Here, let me just go through it again. My bad. Let's just go over it again really quickly. There's your Venus. There's your moon. There's your sun. All at 16 degrees right there. Right there. There's your Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. There's the square to Saturn, which we've been talking about, right? Right there. Boom. There's your Mars-Pluto square happening right there, which we were talking about. There's Pallas, retrograde Scorpio, trine Vesta, and then there's Ceres, retrograde Capricorn. And they all fit into the conversation. And even Pluto, which I talked about earlier, Pluto retrograde. And of course, Aquarius rules astrology. So I think it's a very important part of the conversation. All right. Thanks for putting up with my late chart action there. Let me bring up the banner, the old banneroo. And I'm just going to go, well, let me get rid of this. Stop sharing. We'll just do a quick little spot for our friend Chris here over at True Hemp Science, who is rebranding Moondust. I think it's now Moonlit, because that's really I would say the more appropriate name would be Moonlit. So if you go to truehempscience.com, you can get a free goodie bag, and I bet you get a little taste of the Moonlit. Just saying. And you may want to just order some on your own. He has some small uh, containers. Like you can get just you can get a taste, right? But he's got a bunch of other stuff over there too. And it's all going to be good for your body, because CBD has the ability to reset things in your body. And you have oils, you have nano emulsified, you have spagyrics, you have alcohol based, anything that you're looking for. If you do not want to put any alcohol in your body, don't worry about it. Chris has you covered. And he has a whole list of various elixirs that have numbers, and that, again, he has crafted those for his own, that like they were his own special blends, right? And you can go to truehempscience.com if you want to make an appointment with him, and he'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you all about the products and step you through and walk you through whatever you need. 15MINS, and you get the free goodie bag with $100 more, and $150 more gets you free shipping, and always a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there you go. All right, let's do our True Hemp Science Star of the Day. Now, some of you may not be familiar with this person, but some of you might be. And I was actually surprised that his chart was available. Today's Star of the Day is Tony Levin. Tony the Loney Levin. And Tony Levin is a really interesting character. And he has played bass, and he's also played a variation of what's called the Chapman stick, which is like a bass. And this is one version of the Chapman stick. So it is a bass-like instrument. And Tony Levin, I think, is most notably known for playing with Peter Gabriel. He's been Peter Gabriel's bass player for years, decades, and also a bass player in King Crimson. And if you've ever seen him on stage, he is completely unmistakable. He's been bald ever since I've known about Tony Levin. And he is large and angular. And he has this overwhelming energy on stage, right? He's born in 1948, and Tony Levin is fucking still rocking, right? This guy's got some juice. So his chart is weird, and this is but it's not weird like Kane's yesterday, but it's weird in the sense that it's kind of clustery. I would say this is almost a cluster chart. Moonlight is the. I'm sorry, I've been corrected. It is not moonlit. It is moonlight. So throw a G and an H in there. Moonlight. Personally, I think it should be moonlit, but it's Chris's company, and he can call it Moonlight, which is a fine name. Anyway, this is a cluster chart. Right? So people have cluster charts tend to have very specific purposes, right? Like it's like if you look at let's just say for a minute, incarnation is conscious. We'll just go there for a minute, right? And you say, okay, well, I want to do this thing, and I want to do this thing specifically, and that's all I really want to do, right? So there's a good chance you might get a cluster chart because you're focusing on, just a specific area. And so when you see people that have cluster charts, it's like the thing that they do is more important than almost any other part of their life, right? It's because it's all feeding into that one thing. And Tony's got that Mars conjunction with his midheaven in Leo, and you see this live when he's playing, right? You see that energy. Like he's dynamic. He has charisma, right? And he's propulsive. So I think it's not just like what he brings to the table as an individual performer, like he's propulsive for the rest of the band. Because when you have the bass or the Chapman stick or the drums, that's the bottom end, right? That's the locomotive that's driving the band. And Tony Levin has like really powerful energy in a live performance, in a live setting. And if you look at his Sun Uranus conjunction, he was one of the first guys to really get into the Chapman stick and make it this instrument that other people would pick up on and go, oh, wow, I want to do that. Now, can they play it as good as Tony Levin? Well, that's a whole other story, right? So Tony Levin is going to be somebody who's cutting edge, and he's just going to be eccentric, right? He is really kind of an eccentric guy. Sometimes he'll paint his head, right? Like, he's got a bit of a clown energy and a clown spirit in him, but he's deadly serious when it comes to performing. He now look at the 11th house, right? That's a band. That's the band right there. The 11th house is the band. It's a team. It's a group. And he's got Jupiter there, and he's got Chiron there. And I would think that Chiron and Jupiter together, that being in a band allows that Chiron to find a home, right? And to have a relationship with other people in the band. And he has Chiron conjunct Juno, which is also quite interesting as well. So he's going to bring new things or new ideas to a band setting. And he also has Neptune here in the 11th house. And who's your friends going to be with Neptune in the 11th house? Psychics, mystics, musicians, artists. And so Tony Levin's 11th house is loaded, right? And in his third house, he has Aquarius. And somewhere down here is Peter Gabriel, who's an Aquarian, his musical brother in arms. And he's got that part of fortune in Aquarius. And I think Peter Gabriel and his association with Tony Levin has been really good for Tony Levin. Really good. He's got Mercury in Gemini. He's got the True Node in Gemini, right? He's like Gemini'd up. And the one thing it's like I don't know when this picture was taken, but this guy's been looking like this for a long time, right? Like he's got that very youthful spirit of Gemini, and he's fast. When we talk about Gemini, we also talk about the hands and dexterity, and he's got it. Tony Levin has got it. If you've ever seen him play, his playing is a blur, an absolute blur, and he fosters long-term relationships with that Venus-Saturn conjunction. He's worked for Peter Gabriel for. I mean, I saw Tony Levin with Peter Gabriel back in 1982. That's how long they've had that association. Probably even before that. Let's say 1980. So people have Venus-Saturn conjunctions. They're very selective about relationships, and they tend to last a long time, right? A bit of a square here with Jupiter, but not bad. It's kind of like, hey, Tony, you want to go on the road? Well, I'm busy. Tony, you want to go on the road? Kind of, yeah, okay, I'll go on the road. You convince me. Okay, I'll go. I'm in. Right. And the moon in Virgo, I think, is also quite interesting here in the 10th house. Mostly because with the moon in Virgo, he's going to be a perfectionist. And I bet you if you sat down with him after a show and said, hey, how did it go? Did you have a good show? He would find something that he could have done better. Yeah, everything was really good except for that one part in no self-control, and I kind of missed something there. Right? Like he would have that. That I think this in some ways would be kind of crazy making with a moon sun square. Because the moon in Virgo, as we know, can be really difficult. I would say that his mother probably played a large role in his life. I'm just, speculating. I know nothing about Tony Levin's mother, but maybe she was a musician. Maybe who knows? But the moon in the 10th house, the mother plays a very big role in the individual's life. Venus Saturn conjunction, that's the father. So, he probably have a decent relationship with his dad. Pluto in the 9th house. If you sat down and talked with him about what he thinks about the world, I bet you'd have a very interesting conversation with Mr. Levin, who's been all over the world and has seen it from many different vantage points. It might have a lot of insight into his travels. So I think he's a character in the sense that he's built for what he does, right? He's totally built for it. And if you haven't seen him perform, go on YouTube and find a good Peter Gabriel live video. Doesn't matter what decade, he'll be there. And he's incredibly dynamic and very fun to watch. And not only that, but he's an absolute genius when it comes to playing, right? Like this guy, like if I was going to start a band, I wanted a bass player, he'd be very close to the top of the list because he's so versatile. He can also sing a little bit. Scorpio rising, he'll go through some changes in life, just like most Scorpio risings do. And he'll shed skin every now and then. But there's your THS star of the day, Tony the Looney Levin. All right. And with that, boys and girls, we're out of here. Headed on over to 15 minutes where we're going to look at this idea of D-Day and where this is all going. And we'll be right there with the up-to-the-minute news as it's breaking. Apparently, there's been some activity with Ukraine and Russia that involves larger numbers and amounts of U.S. weaponry, which we'll cover a bit and a bit more of that as well, or a bit more in that direction as well. All right. Have a great day. Have a blessed day. This is Robert Phoenix signing off. Bye for now.